could be the king
of
Wakanda, of the blacks. When we remigrate, you're obviously higher IQ than most of them.
You could be running around just...
Yeah. You're more well-behaved and well-spoken. You could literally just dominate over all of them. You could enslave the niggas. Like,
you could enslave our class.
So, yeah, if you don't get what's going on, they telling him that.
I'm watching Antonio Talks video, and he's responding to a live stream with Andre. Andre, one of the biggest coons on social media with a notoriously black name. I understand names like Andre and Jerome and Tyrone have European origins, specifically French. But you see what I'm saying. The name of this video is These Raccoons Must Be Stopped. Now, let me go into a little bit of pinhead history. I was the first YouTuber, probably one of the first dudes who made the coalition of coons and raccoons. Don't believe me? I did a video back in the day called Coonology 101, where I wanted to dive into why were black people called coons. And then we eventually repurposed the word. And in my video, I did way back then, because nobody made that coalition of raccoons and coons until I did it. I said it during my research, it could come from two places. It could come from the word barracoon, which was a Spanish word, because it was the holding pens for slaves. It was the barracoons. But the other theory was it came from the term raccoon, because raccoons are like considered pests. Raccoons have a long history, even going back into the settlers and the plantations, of wanting to be around humans. Linger in that world of wilderness and humanity. Lingering in the shadows of that world. You know what I'm saying? They've always like sort of being around us, getting into our crops and our food and so forth. And and raccoons got those black hands. And so therefore, the word coon was popular, referring to raccoons, period. And then that word eventually latched on to us, because white people called us coons. But I was the first one, and then other people started just calling them raccoons before. But that's a little bit of YouTube history right there. Now, as far as these coons, these Republicans, one thing I noticed about them, they have that American flag, a big American flag behind there. We know Andre does it. That other guy got, what is it, ATL or whatever. But I noticed that, and even that guy who's that irritating guy who sing that song, Now You're a Single Mom, he's trying to grift with the cowboy hat and American flag in the back. My dad has been 20 years in the military, and he don't have an American flag nowhere near his. So that American flag is symbolic, saying, okay, what side you're on or so forth. It's a selling point. But also with YouTube and these coons. First of all, I understand that a song like Young Miami Spin That has more devastating effects on the so-called black community than these bootlickers here on YouTube. Because these bootlickers here, they're there for money. It's money. I'm like, they got like the easiest grift, criticizing black people. I'm like, nobody's coming to these guys about mathematics or physics or anything. This is what you're qualified for. This is very low hanging fruit. Now, see me, I pay attention to people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, because if you watch him, the dude is pro-black. He says the Egyptians was black. And on top of that, we know he's well accomplished in astrophysics and so forth. Matter of fact, he rewrote Superman's origin when he was talking to DC Comics. You can watch that video, because he said if he came in a basket or whatever as a baby to Earth, it would take him way too long. And if he escaped Krypton being exploded, then years later he wants to look in a microscope and see Krypton being exploded. He said, he was talking about how it doesn't make any sense. So make Superman, baby Superman, come through a wormhole, and then come, because he would have not made it going at the speed of light. You know what I'm saying? It would have took him too long. He would have grown up and died of old age. But yeah, that's the thing. But yeah, coons and buffoons, yeah, they're just, I'm like, with all the money you can make, I'm not saying the stuff that they say can't be refuted. It easily is. I'm like, these guys don't have pride. Andre sitting up there letting these recessive gene pink mutants talk to him like that is reminiscent of ghetto gaggers. I'm like, the guy has no shame. Now, I've came across black Republicans. Two, which I knew. Matter of fact, three. My cousin, she turned Republican. I have a female cousin. But I'm going to just talk about the ones. When I worked at a jail, there was the chaplain at the jail was a Republican. He actually voted for George Bush the second time, because, we was talking, when I worked at the jail, I was chopping it up with this chaplain. He was a Republican. He was a very cool guy. He helped inmates, get their lives together. That's what chaplains do. They just don't just preach the word of God. They set up things for inmates when they come out of prison. I know we're supposed to look at the people of the cloak as just manipulators and bloodsuckers. No, he's a cool guy, and he told me the reason why he voted for George Bush the second time. He said he just wanted to see Bush finish what he started. I said, well, yeah, that's a pretty good answer, and plus he's a Republican, and he had probably always voted Republican. And then there's another black Republican I came across, which I mentioned him before. He's actually the owner of 36 West, which is kind of like a cocktail lounge downtown Indianapolis, a real popular one. It mainly white people go there, mainly white staff. I picked him up in my cab one day when I was a cab driver, and we started chopping it up and so forth. And, he was telling me about politics, whatever, and he was a cool guy. But none of these Republicans I came across just come as these guys that just want to belittle the black community and so forth. They seem to just be standing on business and sort of doing their own thing. Same thing with a female cousin of mine who went Republican. She actually voted for Trump. She has more criticisms of just liberals and Democrats altogether. She said that she had an argument with one of her white neighbors and stuff over politics and this and that. So, but these coons on YouTube, just like the coons before during the menstrual stage, they're putting on a show. Yes, I understand what they're saying is disgusting, but my look at America, that America is a country about money. A country about money over culture, or what culture we do have, like Christmas and Halloween, is tied into money. The more money you have, the more things you can unlock. You can say that about cultures around the world, but when you think about India and some of these other stuff, they have some rooted cultures that's not about money, that people are just going to celebrate regardless. Take Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't like that guy, but that guy is not stepping away from Hindu, which I respect that. He could just convert to Christianity to have more appeal, but he's like, man, I got to be Hindu. I think about the story, The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. That Christmas is telling that Christmas has been such a holiday about capitalism. So if he stole their gifts and all, would people still celebrate Christmas? Now, in other places around the world, they'll celebrate their culture regardless because it's not tied into money. But here in America, if people woke up and their Christmas gifts weren't there, they'll fucking riot and start killing each other. All Americans would. But that's all I want to say. Thanks for watching and never stop learning.